It's Be Lifted Up, your guide to living an abundant life. I am DC Marshall, and he is
the one and only Alfred Edmond Jr.
And you.
And I checked. I am the one and only, by the way.
Oh, okay. And if you all have been following the show, this is a show about faith and finances, and we just have, I think, yummy conversations about how we can do better, be better, live greater so we can go higher. You know, the word of the Lord in John 10:10, the B clause says, I've come that they may have life and have it more abundantly. And so all of our shows, our conversation is really about how do we live more abundantly. And so today we are asking this question. We're posing this question: what are the best qualities of good leadership? So we're talking about leadership today. And so Alfred, how about our show today? What are your thoughts?
I mean, I think this is really an important conversation for two primary reasons. One, for whether we're talking about in church or outside of faith-based communities, great leadership is critical. You can tell which organizations are really bearing great fruit and which ones are dying on the vine based on leadership. But since all of us aren't always cut out to be leaders at all times in our lives, understanding the good qualities of leadership is important for us to choose who to follow, who we should put, what values we should support, what is going to get us to where we want to be and help us to be the best that we can be. And a lot of times, if we don't understand what the good qualities of leadership are, we will choose to follow the wrong path and do ourselves and others a disservice. So this is a conversation I'm very, very passionate about, and I'm glad we're having it today on Be Lifted Up, your guide to living an abundant life. Welcome to Be Lifted Up, your guide to living an abundant life. I'm here with my partner in Shine, DC Marshall, and we're going to have a conversation about a critically important topic: leadership. What are the best qualities of leadership? And as I said, as we were leading into the show, D, it's important if you want to be a leader to understand these qualities, obviously, but it's maybe even more important as you're managing and navigating your life, whether you're choosing what church to attend, what kind of manager you want to be on the job, or what manager you want to work with on a job or in your career and in your business. As a follower, understanding the qualities of leadership is I think more important than even if you want to be a leader. One of the things I know, the biggest thing that makes people change jobs, people don't leave jobs, they leave managers. They don't leave companies, they leave people who are leading them ineffectively. That is like the biggest factor in most cases when people decide that they want to leave a business or leave a company or leave a job. So leadership, and actually leave a church, now that I'm thinking about it, that's a big factor. So I just think this is an important conversation no matter whether you aspire to leadership or you don't.
Yeah, I have to agree. But you know what? But I use the term leadership not to define or limit it to people who are leading other people, but I really see leaders as people who might be individual contributors, to be quite honest. So with my other hat at Diverse and Engage, we do speak 3 languages: leadership development, workplace culture, and diversity and inclusion. So we do this work with Fortune 500 corporations. And so we refer to any participant in any of our training or even in our coaching, they're all leaders, because I think what's missing today is life skills, social skills, EQ. In corporate, we say EQ, but it's emotional intelligence. And I think there's a gap in just people really understanding basic leadership skills versus peopleship skills. So I see it as in a number of ways, but I am excited to have this conversation today because we have an awesome guest. Do you know Benny? Do you know our guests today? Because you know everybody.
Either I know them or you know them, but in this case, I only know him by reputation. So.
Oh my goodness, this is probably the first person on our show. We know everybody.
Yeah, between the two of us, we either both know them or at least one of them knows. This
Baby, we know people. We know people, but you know what? But we needed to know Benny.
Yes,
we
absolutely.
To know Benny.
Absolutely.
And so super excited. So let me see. What can we share? You know what? As we bring in our guest today, I think what I read about Benny, and Benny, we're going to have you come on in, but he has served as the president of Rock Nation Music, executive VP of Epic Records, senior VP of promotion at Universal Music, Universal Music Group's Island Def Jam, heralded for his unmatched eye and ear for talent. So we definitely have a leader, because leaders identify great talent, but really solidified his legacy as the master of promotions and marketing, on behalf of celebrities, icons, and rising stars around the globe, from the plateaus of rising through leadership ranks to the valleys of overcoming a near-death car crash, which almost took everything away. So excited to have Benny Pough. He's going to share his guiding truths and blueprint for success in his new book on impact. Benny, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you for that introduction, DC. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited. Can't wait. I can't wait to get started.
Well, how about just jump in? Where do you want to start? Why are you excited? Tell us. Why are you excited? Where do you want to start?
Well, for me, it's always about opening my eyes. You hear a lot of people saying, well, I woke up this morning and realize that they don't put value on that. When you are in a near-death situation, you realize how important the moments are and that it's not given to you, and you really learn how to live in the moment. That's what I do a lot of now, living in the day, building into the future. So when I say I'm excited, I'm really, really excited about every opportunity that comes towards me. So that's it.
Benny, your book on impact, life, leadership, and betting on yourself, was that something, a memoir that was in your mind before you had this, life-altering experience, or was it something that helped inspire your desire to write this memoir?
So I'm a purpose-driven person, and it's interesting. So we're gonna set this interview off, and you went straight into the book, all right? Right, Alfred, you went straight there. We not no intro, no nothing, but I'm cool. So let me just give you the gist of how I got to this point in my life. So giving you the context, back in 2014, I was in a near-death car accident, and leading into that moment of August 31st, 2014, there was a culmination of events that took place in my life. I had taken my son to boarding school the week prior, which was the 24th of August. It was his first time of living away from home. He was a high performance athlete, went to IMG boarding school down in Bradenton, Florida. And it was a great opportunity for our family to share, going down with him, getting settled. Come back home on that Tuesday, and my friend gave me a call and asked me if I was interested in coming to his barbecue. And needless to say, how we get a call and we're real quick in the office and you go, oh, okay, it's cool, it's Alfred. Hey, what's up, Alfred? You want to come to the barbecue? Yes. So I said I would be there. And I'm a person, once I commit to anything, it doesn't matter if I lose. Like, if it doesn't benefit me in the end, my word is my word. Like, I was having a conversation with some friends the other day and how we grew up generationally. There used to be a term that was used a lot called my word is my bond. And we used to just say it in language, but as you get older, you realize the context of my word is that bond that binds us. When you say something, that's what your word is supposed to be. But neither here nor there. So 2 days later, that Thursday, my friend calls me, asks me if I'm still interested in coming to the barbecue. I said yes. That Friday, he calls me again, asks me if I'm coming. I said yes. That Saturday, I flew from LaGuardia Airport to Charlotte to drive to Orangeburg, South Carolina to visit my sister. Columbia, South Carolina, to visit my sister and watch my nephew play some football. We drove after the game down to my father's home in Orangeburg, South Carolina to celebrate his 70th birthday. And my mother had his Alzheimer's. So, you know, I had an opportunity to spend some time with her. On the 30th, leave from my sister's house in Columbia and drive back to Charlotte. And there's a misty rain that morning. So my flight was delayed. We take off, I land in New York, and I realized that I was going to be late. My friend called and asked me if we're still coming. I said, yes, I had a meeting to take. Called my wife, told her I was going to be late. And I also felt this energy that, you know, that misty rain was happening, that I didn't want to take the convertible. I wanted to take the truck. So I leave my meeting, go home, pick up my wife and my daughter. We're driving. My friend calls again. We're about 20 minutes out and asked me if we're still coming. We said, yes. So we got to his house and we get there and it was like, well, the reason why he was so persistent is because he had actually catered barbecue for the two families. So we thought we were coming to an event, but he actually just made a special moment for us. And that was really sweet. 4 adults, 3 bottles of wine. We're sitting down having conversations. The women and us, we're all sitting in his living room. He and I, we peel off, go out on his deck. He's my long-term childhood friend. I've known him over 35 years. We're sitting down having conversations, talking about all kinds of things that are happening in our lives. You know, some happy, some sad. And that misty rain happens again. So at that moment, I don't know whether he said or I said, but we decided at that point, he had just bought a new 550 Benz. Let's go take a ride in his car. So we walk from the deck through the kitchen into the carport and get in the car. He backs out, runs in the house, gets a cigar, gets back in. The lady and the 2 children, they come out. We turns the wheel, drives down the driveway. The ladies are sitting there waving. I don't know, you know, that's a Black thing. We always wave to people as they leave, right? But it's a Southern thing as well. Get to the end of the gate. His driveway is probably the length of a city block. And he opens the gate, makes a right onto the roadway. It's a rural area. It's a rural area of New Jersey. He turns and I hear a thump and the car takes off. So I have my phone in my hand because I'm about to make a call. So I cut my eyes at the odometer and I see the car is approaching about 75 miles an hour. So I turn my head and he's passed out with his foot on the accelerator. So now we're on the road, and from where we started to the tree is about a half a mile, car being driven with no driver. So I done what we were always taught to do by my mother, and that was to speak to God. And I said, Lord, I guess I'm not gonna see my family anymore because I've seen everybody in my immediate family up until my wife and daughter standing in the yard. The second thing I said, Lord, I guess I'm gonna see you soon because, you know, your mortality really does come into play in those moments. And the third thing, I got mad with God, but I'm glad God didn't get mad with me. And it was interesting because I thought about there would be no more birthdays, there would be no more celebrations. Who's going to take care of my mother because she has Alzheimer's? Who's going to pour wisdom into my sons and my daughters? And my wife's not prepared for this moment. So the car starts veering off the road. We start hitting trees and bushes. And every time we hit something, his foot would come off the accelerator. And finally we hit an obstruction in the road that diverted the car straight across the street into the woods. And that's where we hit a tree at 90 miles an hour. And in that moment, I sustained a level 2 concussion. That's when you black out for 1 to 5 minutes. L3, L4 vertebrae fracture, bulging disc in my back. Lacerated liver that led me to lose half my blood supply. And the seatbelt, we hit the tree so hard that the seatbelt severed 2 feet of my small intestines. And in that moment, God put a book inside me called On Impact. And impact is an acronym for intuition, mastery, pivot, authenticity, connection, and teamwork. And it takes the reader from my life at 11 years old, deliver newspaper to modern day with an undercurrent of music. And at the end of each chapter, there's a hit list of takeaways that pretty much, since I've gone from being intern to CEO, that if I can do it, you can do it too, because I can meet everybody at their level.
All I can say is, wow. Wow.
Yes, sir.
And I definitely see the term on impact. Obviously it's an acronym, but it literally was triggered by the impact.
Yes.
The physical impact of the accident and the impact on your life.
Yes, sir.
Listen, we're listening to Be Lifted Up, your guide to living an abundant life. We're here with Benny Pough, DVERSE Media CEO and author of On Impact. We'll be right back.
Well, Benny, listen, I'm so glad that you survived, but just hearing and feeling your spirit, God already had his hand on your life. I believe and I feel that God had already planned to use you as a vessel, as an instrument, right, to birth the book, to birth and to show up in a big way as a leader. So much of what you have already shared, it just feels like God has always had his hand. So I guess my question to you, have you always been so, I guess, present and with who you are, your relationship with the Lord? Because you seem really solid and grounded, even in the accident, that you knew to have a conversation, and then the level of conversation that you had with the Lord on impact.
So I would say it this way. We were disciplined in church. We were reared in church. I can't say that I was accepting of everything that church had to offer, right? I've evolved into the man from the foundation that was given. You know, my mother had us reciting, I knew all the books of the Bible by 5 years old, from Genesis to Revelations, with no purpose or reason on why I know all the books of the Bible, right? But that was, her core competency on making sure that one thing that we always had faith in our life. Mm-hmm. And as I got older, I struggled, but I always wound up coming back. I struggled. I always got deeper and then got wider, mm-hmm. Strayed and then got wider, strayed mm-hmm. and then got wider, tried mm-hmm. to, immerse myself and then got wider. So it ultimately, I am the man I am from all of the experience, but I owe the testimony to my mother, who wouldn't allow us to be anything but children of God. And I would say to, we all find Christ where we find him at, right? He's sitting there waiting for you when you get there. But, I definitely had a helping hand with my mother and the sisters and the brothers in the church to help me and mentor me and surround myself by people who are of the right spirit for me.
What comes through, and it came through even when you came on, about how excited you are, not just about being on our show, which we think is a good enough reason to be excited, but your life, and if you live long enough, you have enough experience, and if you're blessed, everybody says that they see life as a blessing, but there's certain experiences that we have that I think really, really make that a real thing in our spirit. And when you do wake up every day and you're like joyful upon rising, and it feels like you brought that energy even to this conversation as soon as we met you. Talk to me about the memoir and the book, not just being about your experience as a person and what you've been through and what inspired the book, but our topic for today, leadership, and how it informs the leadership that you displayed along the way, as well as what you hope people will get out of this book and your experiences going forward in terms of leadership. And I think obviously the acronym for impact dovetails directly into the high qualities of great leadership.
I couldn't have crafted this more perfect if I thought about this to have a book called On Impact. And impact is truly like the 6 pillars that I live by, and also that I've managed by. Like, you don't get to spend 30 years in the music business by chance. especially as a Black person. You don't, part of, there's a chapter in my book where I just talk about, investment. Like I didn't only just do music, I also had 2 Plan A's. Along the way, I realized that there weren't any salt and pepper hair Black men, that were in the music business. So I had to create my own retirement. At that point, once again, mom showing, the light of what's important in ownership. So as I started moving up in the ranks of the music business, every bonus that I got, I took that money and I bought something different. So I bought condo, I bought co-ops, I bought 2-family homes, I bought multi-families, I bought residential complexes, and even got all the way up to a city block, because knowing this is a business that's almost like lotto. And you one day you might be making intern salary, which I was at $25 a week as a postgraduate, to you can go into the 7 figures instantaneously. But if nobody teaches you about money, then it's all for naught, right? Because you don't know what to do, how to respect, how to prepare, and how to make sure that you're taken care of. So back to the leadership element, what is the purpose of me having all of this information if I wasn't willing to share? Mm-hmm. I've hired probably more Black and minority executives than most people in modern day. And what's also important about that is I made sure that everybody who worked for me, they had to own where they lived, taught them how to structure. They had to own their cars, right? Because we're in a cycle where, if you have a contract, when the contract's over, you're going to need a car. So you can't be leasing, right? You can't lease because you can't pay for it. It's always better to borrow some money to fix something than you have to buy something. Regardless, if you lose your job, you still got to live somewhere. So it's better for you to pay yourself and hustle to own where, figure that out for where you live than like, okay, I got to just keep moving around. So everything that I've learned, I thought it was a necessity for the people who work with me to have that education as well to pass on.
Benny, did you see me just fall out over here?
Yes, I did. I was gonna hit 911 on you.
Listen, this is new rules. And what you just said was so powerful. If you taught the entire Black culture, Black population in the US, that the new rules of leadership, you are not allowed or authorized to lead anyone if you don't have a standard of you have to own where you live. Do you understand how, Alfred, can we call somebody to tell somebody that knows somebody to tell somebody, Benny Pough, he the president of us, okay? He's the president of us. Bang, bang. He is the president of us. I mean, just
you're absolutely right, D. Absolutely right. That phrase alone, you need to own where you live.
When I tell you, Benny, if Benny didn't write anything else in the book is a bestseller, and you're the president of us, because that, from a leadership perspective and having significant impact, come on, God, use the man of God.
Amen.
Impact for our culture, the fact that you had the standard that you can't work for me unless you and we're gonna figure it out. You're gonna own where you live, and I just Alfred, say something, because
well, the other principle is, as we wrap this segment and move on to the next one, is this idea that you put your money to work for you. Not that you just work for your money. You're saying every bonus, I use it to buy something that was an investment. Not another fly outfit, not another piece of jewelry. The things that it's not just Black
trappings, just the trappings.
So this whole idea of planting seeds to bear more fruit is a foundation of our show. Be lifted up, your guide to living an abundant life, a faith and finance show. So D, you're right. He's dropping them gems. We're like, whoa! Listen, you're listening to Be Lifted Up, your guide to living an abundant life. We're here with Benny Pough. He is dropping gems and dropping mics. Make sure you come back for the next segment of Be Lifted Up, your guide to living an abundant life.
And we're back with the president of us. His name is Benny Pough. He has the new rules on leadership, and yes, new rules because of his heart true blue. I'm mad that we didn't know him before we did, but I'm grateful that God allowed him to live.
Amen.
He's
Amen.
a man of God. And I know Black women are on brand, but really like Black men, we really needed this model of leadership. And so Benny, before we left, well, Alfred, you jump in, because I'm still really, I would say, super grateful for what we just learned in the last segment about standards of leadership.
Well, Benny, as the president of US, in addition to being the CEO of DVERSE Media, really is laying down some of the fundamental principles that we've been promoting for now more than 2 years on Be Lifted Up, when we talk about living an abundant life, faith, finance, principles and rules for guiding ourselves in a way to be more abundant and be more productive. So Benny, I'd like you to dive in, even a little deeper on you're connecting the dots between leadership, which too many people think just means being in charge, and you're expanding that to impact. What impact you have on the people who you directly deal with and are in a relationship with, and then what is their impact and what is their impact? Is that kind of ripple effect, when you talk about impact, a big part of what you're talking about both in your work life, in your mentorship and leadership, and in your book?
Yes. And, it's really interesting in thinking about this journey and thinking about my career. And most of us, we all, and there's nothing wrong with it, it's about how you ascend in a company, and how we view success. In the company, sometimes we want promotions and positions that we're not even deserving of because somebody else has it. Companies, when you have them, you think you should be more successful, but you haven't put in the work. But you see someone else's company moving at a different pace than yours. And what I've learned on how I've lasted and what's been most valuable and important for me is realizing that you have to be selfless. I've worked at 7 major labels in the music business, and I left all of them at the top of my game. That was to make room for somebody else. Had I stayed at any one of those jobs too long, then the next generation or the next individual who was supposed to have their opportunity would have been blocked. And that has always been, my mantra and my drive is to make sure that everybody gets an opportunity. And it's not whether what I give you, you give back to me. It's about giving and moving us forward. And I think there's a lot of talk about, all of that, but I don't think people really think about how important it is to help and move others forward, not only to your benefit, just sometimes just to the benefit of the good. And I talk about that in the book about mentoring. When you take someone in, it's not about what you're supposed to receive back, but it's what you're supposed to give, and then they give forward. And that's how I believe in what I've seen. And being successful in business is how many people in business become successful around you.
I really share that philosophy as someone who's passionate about mentorship, who, when I was editor-in-chief of Black Enterprise magazine, led a large team. And what I took pride in was not what my title was, and even today, as the senior vice president of Black Enterprise. What I take great pride in is when I look around at the different people who I've worked with, who've been on my team, who are now leading organizations themselves, doing amazing things themselves, and maybe doing things that, from a world point of view, are doing things that exceeded what they were doing with me. And that's to me where the real contribution of true leadership is. Our founder at Black Enterprise, the late Earl Graves, used to say, B people hire C people, but A people hire A+ people. That they're looking for bringing additional excellence into their organization and into their circle. Talk to me about one of the goals and objectives of your book, which is to also give a framework for navigating through the highs and lows, whether you're talking about entrepreneurship. I mean, obviously you have your own company. We can also talk about a career, and how does that play into your philosophy of leadership success?
So that's a multi-pronged answer on how I look at success. So for my book, there's 7.8 billion people on the planet. If I could get that in the hands of everyone, then I've done my job. Like I truly believe where I am in my life is where I'm supposed to be, and realizing that now, not being in a corporate situation, like I'm no longer in a corporate setting. And book is titled On Impact, Life Leadership and Betting on Yourself. I'm out here on faith. I've been out here on faith for 4 years because, once again, God has always put me in a position to make room for others. And in order for me to get to where I need to be, I have to follow that direction. So, that's all new. I've worked since I was 11 years old. I've not stopped working one day, except for the accident that happened in 2014, that I was out for 60 days, which I should have stayed out for a year, right? I should have been out for a year on whether it's disability or some kind of abbreviated form of that. But thinking, once again, getting back to work, satisfying the man, doing the things that you used to do was the right thing to do. But now being out here, I realized like the journey that in the course that I'm on is far more important than whatever else I could have acquired being in a corporation. So I'm truly destined for what's next, or what's given to me in the direction that's coming to me. I have a conference that I'm launching in Charlotte, MLK weekend 2023, which is the live version of On Impact. So what it does, it takes the reader and all those who read the book or those who haven't, now an opportunity to get all of what I've learned and bring and assemble people just like me who are willing to give, and people who are willing to teach, and also with an undercurrent of music once again, because we're gonna have 2 days of auditions for folks to come in and in the market and be, viewed by some really seasoned music executives. Then we're gonna have 2 days of conference on Saturday and Sunday, which entail like crypto, how to buy real estate in Charlotte. I'll have some banker, brokers, and people like that. I'll have also a panel that will include hip hop and spirituality, because we believe, it's people aren't really comfortable being spiritual and hip hop, right? Like all this, blended stuff. I'm old school, right? You one or the other, right? Kind of thing, but I understand things are nuanced. So we modern enough, but we don't have to be that modern. And at the end of the conference on Sunday, we're going to do a finale, which is going to be great. That we're going to give somebody $10,000, one of the artists, $10,000 to bet on themselves. So, super excited about what started is just an accident, has now morphed into a whole experience for us to reach people and give them opportunities to, one, come to a centralized place where they can meet people like us.
And Benny, while we're getting ready to wrap, but so you gave us the details of the conference. So again, what's the name of the conference and who is the conference for? It sounds like entertainment. Yeah. So what's the name of the conference?
It's Your Time Conference.
It's Your Time Conference. It's coming up 23 MLK weekend.
Charlotte, North Carolina.
Okay, in Charlotte. Is it because you're based in Charlotte?
No, I'm here in New York.
Oh, okay. So why Charlotte? Who's the target? And what's the broad theme of the conference? Because you've given some details.
So what I realized in entertainment is that artists, and it's kind of, if we walk back into this interview, we talked about how do we educate people. I showed you how executives that I've worked with, they've got experience in education from being a part of what I call my course. And also artists that I've made successful who've come from 0 to, went to 100, on which we've created and navigated their careers. So there's a blend of not only just artistry and executives that need a hub of sorts to learn about themselves. So who does it cater to? Artists, entrepreneurs, creatives, people who are stagnant in their careers. If you're a CEO, you can walk away with something, or if you're an intern walking in, you can get something, because information is powerful and valuable, and we're giving stuff that people don't know.
This sounds like a great event. And we're going to come back and talk more with Benny Pough, our president, who's giving us the new rules of leadership. You're listening to Pete, Lift It Up, your guide to living an abundant life. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Be Lifted Up, your guide to living an abundant life. I'm here with my partner in shine, DC Marshall, and we're here with the president of us, Benny Pough of DVERSE Media. Listen, Benny, it looks like with this upcoming event, with the book, you're really laying out as Dee says, rules of new leadership that we really need to promote and share. But you're doing something else that I know is really important to both Dee and I. Teaching, like just having the knowledge and having the experience doesn't mean much, or at least doesn't mean everything that God expects it to mean if we're not really dedicated to teaching. It's like between this book and this event, you're literally creating a platform to create more Benny Poughs in different areas of life. The principal purpose of a successful species is to replicate itself. I always tell people that if you're not replicating your success, there's no real legacy to really be talked about. Talk to me about, and talk to the Be Lifted Up family about some key lessons. You've already dropped some gems about some rules of leadership moving forward, but some key lessons that you hope people from this show will walk away with, people who read the book will walk away with, and obviously people who attend your event in 23 will walk away with.
I mean, it's simple. It's understand the value of each day, understand life, understand commitment, and also it's important that you have to believe in yourself. It's one thing to say it, but there's actions in order to do it. And setting up a regimen for yourself that helps you, feed your faith, and feed your family is the way to start. That's how I look at life. Like I care about my God, myself, and my family. Everything else we can fix. Everything else we can work. Everything else we can do without for me. And it's important, in this season of my life, I've had, feast and famine, right? I've had both, and I talk about it in the book and how you deal with big wins and big losses, right? Everybody wants, I guess, with social media now, just to see how successful you are. So you rent these cars to take pictures, you in these people's homes, and you're on these fake planes, and you're doing all of that stuff. But is that making you the individual that you need to be for the best of you? Because even think about it, your family can't help you, which I realized in that accident, that it didn't matter who I knew, how much influence I had, how much money I had, what my next promotion was going to be, or how much my mother prayed for me. In that moment, hitting the tree was me by myself. And I was either going to be right with God or not right with God. And when you prioritize your life first on what's important, starting God first, family, self then family, then you can figure out what the quality of this life is going to be for you. And ultimately, people will experience that and get the trueness of that from me, from my book. And also they'll get an opportunity to share with folks that I've known who've gone through the same similar journey, but people who are super successful in cryptocurrency, people who've done amazing job in equities, people who've putting together big real estate programs that are willing to share all of this information that you may not readily get. And these are people who are proven, who have done it, that will give you information and next steps to help you move on what's important for you in this journey of life to experience.
And that's the whole word, just the idea that God first, which again, those of us who were raised in the faith, it's those things that we hear and we repeat, but we don't always have real meaning in our lives until we—
Correct.
Yes.
Yes.
But that God first, then I gotta feed and nourish and nurture myself, because if I'm not nourished myself, I really can't be. I can't help nobody. Exactly. And of course, family. So it really is a universal context for not only leadership, but as we would say, successful, abundant living. Your capacity to bring value to others really does revolve around those three things, whether you're talking about a career, a business, family, life, relationships. Absolutely. Absolutely. What's next?
I think before we go to what's next, I'm curious, Benny, do you have coach, mentor, advisors? Like, what's your
absolutely
support? Who's pouring? Tell us about your board of directors.
I didn't get here by myself. Like, when you think of it's amazing. Like, the people who've come in my life have always caught me when I was about to make a hard left turn, right? And like, they show up. And then they from my first job being an intern at Motown Records, I used to do stand-up, and that's how I actually got into the music business. I had no desire to be in music. I'm probably one of the only people who didn't want to give up a lung, a kidney, or a leg, right, to get in music business. I fell in performing at the Cellar in '96 in Amsterdam. My mentor, Deidre Tate, she saw me and asked me if I wanted to be her intern. And at that point in my life, nobody had ever, from where I'm from, even told us what an intern was. I was a consummate sales guy. So I realized, like, yeah, I can be your intern kind of thing, right? And went down, and the rest is history, but I had no desire. So Deidre is one of those people. Sharon Hayward is another one. L.A. Reid is another one. My pastor is another one. My friend Tedra, like, people who are wise and caring and giving, and I can be vulnerable with, are always important to me. Like, I'm not the guy who just wants to hear you right. I want to hear why I'm wrong, so then I can actually process and figure out how to get to the best result. But if you just have people who just want to be around you because, you got the party at the house, or we might be able to go to go hang out, or, he's going to pay for the meal, that's not substantive relationship. So I have some really good folks. Obi McKenzie. Oh my God. He's an amazing man.
Oh my goodness. I love Obi.
Yo, he's the best. Like, Obi should really, he's the president of us.
He's the president of us.
I'm the vice president. I'll be the vice president.
But you know
the
what?
President. No, you know what he is? You know what? He's chairman emeritus.
Yes. You know what I was getting ready to say? I was going to ask you that question.
He's chairman.
Because Obi would say Benny is the president. And you're right. He's chairman.
He's chairman emeritus.
Because, right, he is. He's so lovely, amazing. And he's the right balance of wealth and money, good dude, love his wife. He gonna tell you his wife is hot and y'all jealous. And he loved God. He said that. And so, oh my goodness, this is so powerful.
It really, really is. Listen, Benny, we always, with all our amazing guests, we could have you for another hour.
Oh, wow.
But what's the best way for our audience to keep up with what you're doing, your website, your social media? Make sure they understand when the book is dropping, or where they can get the book, where the conference is happening. What's the best way to keep track of everything that Benny Pough is doing?
Easy and clean and simple. At Benny Pough on all socials. My website is bennypough.com, and we're dropping the website for It's Your Time conference October 1st.
Excellent.
And if y'all are listening, can y'all invite Benny to the conference? He's the keynote. Tell all of the places where we're spending all of our money, the big box stores. We need Benny on something. We need Benny as a brand ambassador. I was with Walmart this past weekend, and they're working on some social impact stuff. Can you all get Benny as a brand ambassador for all the financial wealth, the finance companies, the banks? If you all are looking for how to reach us and how to integrate content, we want Benny Pough. He is the president of us. He's got new rules on leadership. And so I just really appreciate and love us, right? And I love to see Black men leading and setting new standards and new rules, and to tell a beautiful story. So I know our time is complete, but we look forward to seeing you on somebody's stage. Black Enterprise, Black Enterprise, okay. Essence, I want to see Benny Pough, okay. Earn Your Leisure, y'all, dude.
October 3rd.
Oh, okay. Can you get Benny Pough? Okay.
We locked him.
We're out of time, everybody. But listen, this is Be Lifted Up, your guide to living an abundant life, and we'll be right back. OMG. You know what? I'm full right now. I think I'm one place, I'm between two spaces, exhausted and then full. That was such an awesome